Yo, Michael Saylor just bought another $500 million worth of Bitcoin, or rather is about to buy another $584 million worth of Bitcoin under a completely new financial product that could become a game changer for the markets. Does this new structure of capital raise that MicroStrategy is exploiting, proves that there's some silent but growing demand for Bitcoin exposure. And just when you thought things weren't getting bullish, let's not forget that one of the largest insurance funds in the entire world single-handedly bought 25% of MSTR's recent record-breaking bond raise. And also, this week, we also found out that a central bank bought $500 million in MSTR. Guys, things are getting crazy out here. It looks like the exposure and the need and the hunger for Bitcoin is growing. It's absolutely insane to watch. Let me pull this up. And of course, I am not alone today. I am here with my boy, Chris Alamo. You guys all know Chris by now. Shouts out to Chris, everyone's favorite friendly neighborhood Bitcoiner. And then we got a fellow content creator, Maurizio, aka Mr. M Podcast. So we got a great show for you guys, jam-packed with news, but let's get into the headline story here. So I got Saylor's tweet. MicroStrategy announced its pricing of its STRK preferred stock, aka STRK offering, and upsizes the deal from $250 million to $584 million. If you don't understand what that means, essentially, they did their initial offering for $250 million, and it was oversubscribed to $584 million. Now, let's go to the press release. I'm not going to read the whole thing because, it's not for laymen, basically. But just reading the beginning, MicroStrategy today announced the pricing of its offering on January 30th, 2025 of 7.3 million shares of 8% Series A perpetual STRK preferred stock at a public offering price of $80 per share. This issuance and sale of the perpetual STRK preferred stock are scheduled to settle on February 5th, 2025. So again, $584 million of new capital coming into the market. It's not officially in the market yet, but it'll be officially closed in February 5th. Now, just kind of breaking this down for you guys that are asking, like, what does this mean? This show is becoming simply Saylor, simply MicroStrategy. Essentially, what this means for you guys to understand is that the oversubscribed of this stock is essentially saying that the market is hungry for these Bitcoin products. It's hungry for these Bitcoin securities. Remember, guys, this stock offering was oversubscribed by nearly 3 times, an increase from 2.5 million, again, 250 million stock offering price to $2.5 million share, or 2.5 million shares to 7.3 million price at $80 a share. So it's absolutely incredible what's going on right now. And further, we saw this happen this week. One second, my computer just messed up on me. But Norway's central bank bought $500 million in MicroStrategy. Oh, one second. Are we not live? Okay, sorry guys. It looks, wow, it can't be edited. Let me see. Sorry guys, it looks like it didn't go live. Oh no, we're live on Rumble. We're live on Rumble, but not YouTube. Interesting. And I lost Chris.
I'm back. I don't know. My internet went out, but yeah, we're not live on YouTube right now.
That's crazy. Let me see if I can fix it live. I don't think I can. Wow, wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. Anyways, I guess we're just going to keep ripping it, and I'll upload it later. Absolutely wrecked on today's show. I don't know what's happening. But again, Norway Central Bank Fund reveals owning $500 million of MicroStrategy shares. And the other interesting news that we didn't cover is Alliance Insurance quietly bought a bunch of MicroStrategy convertible notes. And I really like this quote here from Punter Jeff. Bitcoin's effectively eating TradFi from the inside out, and nobody really knows about it. This is what's going on. Now, again, we're not here to just be a MicroStrategy shill show. Essentially, what this is showing, oh, it says we're live on YouTube now. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know what's going on. I guess we're having some issues over here, but hey, If they're seeing it, they're seeing it. We keep losing Chris. But essentially, what I'm seeing here and what I'm looking at, obviously, we are super bullish on Bitcoin. We're constantly bullish on Bitcoin. And I think you guys are all constantly bullish on Bitcoin. Now, what's very interesting to see is that TradFi markets, institutional capital, now that it's able to get into Bitcoin, it's starting to wake up to these different Bitcoin products. And MicroStrategy right now is essentially, you know, the de facto proxy to get Bitcoin exposure. And the fact that people are oversubscribing to its new Bitcoin products, the fact that we have central banks, some of the biggest insurance companies in the world starting to get MicroStrategy exposure, it looks like the market is hungry, not only for the gains, but for that Bitcoin exposure, trying to get some of that price appreciation. But it looks like Bitcoin is maturing on the market. It looks like people are starting to accept Bitcoin. They're starting to look at Bitcoin. It's not just some internet nerd money, not just something that you can relegate to the dark corners of the internet. It's starting to look like a legitimate financial tool for them to, of course, protect their purchasing power and ensure that they get more gains than just simply buying treasuries right now. So as the world wakes up to Bitcoin, you guys out there that are stacking, obviously it's going to increase your stack. You guys are going to be happy because the number go up. But it's very interesting to see that even though Michael Saylor just continues to either issue convertible notes or this new Bitcoin product, it's just a flow of capital coming into it. People are oversubscribing. There's a huge hype around MicroStrategy right now. There's a lot of rumors going around. And Maurizio, I'd like to get your take on this one. There's a lot of rumors going around right now that MicroStrategy might end up being literally the biggest company in the world in a couple of years. So crazy stuff going on. Maurizio, let me pass it to you and I'll see if I can get Chris back on and what's going on. But what's your thoughts on this latest product from MicroStrategy and the fact it's oversubscribed, the fact that it seems like institutional capital really wants to get Bitcoin exposure? It's very interesting to watch play out. We're in what, about the last day of the month, first month of the year down, and it looks like Bitcoin is starting to catch on.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me. Really happy to be on your show. I don't think we are bullish enough, 100%. And Michael Saylor is just showing how it's done to everyone, right? Because at the end of the day, he's opening the road, and this new presidency in the US is going to allow a lot of money to flow into Bitcoin for sure. So it's a very interesting time. I don't think we're bullish enough. Sometimes I try to keep it together, but definitely interesting. And I think MicroStrategy, like I said, is going to convert, especially Michael Saylor, like with the blueprint he put together, is going to orange pill a lot of companies. Yes, we're seeing some FUD coming from Europe, but that's expected, right? Like we've seen it before. It's a cycle, and I do believe, though, that we will at some point cool off and correct. Not as much, not as aggressive as we've done in the past, right? Because cycles have a life. But the next few months, at least until the end of summer, are going to be epic. That's for sure. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I love it. Me too, 100%. It's very crazy times to be in Bitcoin, considering, you know, well, actually, I was going to save this for the culture, but I think it's some good context. You were telling me before the show, you know, you've been in Bitcoin for 12 years, and it seems like this is the year that we are starting to get the FOMO that we've all kind of thought Bitcoin would have in years past. It seemed like now is the year that the institutional capital is actually here. And so what's your thoughts on just the general growth of Bitcoin? Like, where are we in the cycle? Are we going to see a cycle blow off top this time? Or are we going to get blue balled like we did last year? Or sorry, in 2020?
It's a fantastic question. So there are a couple of charts that people are posting on X, and it seems like we are repeating 2017, right? So if that's the case, well, we're going much higher. So I think it's going to be interesting to see where we're going to move on because of Trump mainly. So Trump accelerated what would have happened anyway because Bitcoin is inevitable. It just accelerated the process. So in terms of numbers, I like Saylor take. We are going higher, right? That's how I like to think about. Bitcoin is my saving, is my money. So I'm all good for the long term. But I think we have not seen the top yet. And we will probably maybe even extend into 2026. It's an option. Like if history repeats and or rhyme, we should end up the cycle in October, November. But it's possible that we might go a little bit forward in 2026 because of so many different things, right? Like, I mean, Gary Gensler is gone. The new SEC head is bullish on Bitcoin. Basically, the entire new administration in the US is bullish on Bitcoin. We've seen Czech Republic potentially thinking about storing their wealth and their value into Bitcoin. We will see, I think we have 15 states in the US wanting to do a strategic reserve, guys, buckle up, because this thing is going to go much higher. In terms of number, I think 200,000 is not crazy. If you think about it in terms of market cap, for example, we're now over in 2 trillion. Gold is 18 trillion. So we are more or less 10%. And I think it's easy to say, fair to assume maybe 4 or 5 trillion, which is going to take us to what, $250,000 by the year end, maybe, with a high chance of extending the bull market. Da Vinci, shout out to Da Vinci, DOG, he thinks we could have doubled the cycle. So instead of 4 years, into 8 years. That's also something I'm entertaining, because things, I mean, I know that we say this time is different all the times, right? But we never had countries FOMO into this thing. So my hands forward, I think we will see some differences coming in.
Yeah, totally. I couldn't agree more. All right, Chris, did you catch any of that, even though your internet was acting up?
No, unfortunately I did not, but I'm guessing something with Christine Lagarde and like price points and stuff.
No. Okay, we'll keep it moving, and hopefully your internet stays strong with us today. All right, guys, so you already know the deal. We got to pay the bills here. Make sure you go to bitcoinwell.com and buy Bitcoin directly from Bitcoin Well. They are a self-custody by default platform, which means you literally need to have a Bitcoin wallet to even buy Bitcoin on their platform. There's no possibility of them ever rugging you because they never hold your Bitcoin. So go to bitcoinwell.com. They are enabling independence, and use the promo code simplybtc. Now, if you are in the market for buying a huge chunk of Bitcoin, make sure you go to Bitcoin Well Infinite, their OTC desk, and you can buy $50,000 of Bitcoin or more at a time. Again, this is for the people with the deep pockets waiting on the sidelines, trying to get a lot of capital into Bitcoin, and you don't want to set up, a weekly buy, and you want to just smash buy a bunch of Bitcoin. Make sure you go to Bitcoin Well Infinite and smash buy a huge chunk of Bitcoin. All right, now moving forward, guys, we do have some Bitcoin Well Infinite, guys. So when you get into the Bitcoin Well dashboard, you get a couple of wishing well points or coins. You toss them in, and you can redeem Bitcoin instantly. So first come, first serve. Whoever Lightning Wallet gets out first is going to get some free sats. All right, guys, you already know the deal. Let's get into the show, because we do have a jam-packed show for you.
I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stamp Seed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store.
All right, boys and girls, you already know the deal. Scan the QR code and stamp your seed phrase into titanium, and you can use the promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off. All right, guys, so apparently there were some issues on YouTube, but it is live. It's just on a different video. But hey, if you're watching it, then you're already watching the show. So hopefully everyone kind of funnels over here. Anyways, we're over here on Clark Moody's dashboard writing the Bitcoin numbers. The current Bitcoin price is $104,700 per Bitcoin. The sats per dollar, aka how much Bitcoin you can buy for a single dollar, aka how much the dollar is worth in Bitcoin, is currently at 955 sats per dollar. The block height is 881,667. The market cap in fiat terms is $2.07 trillion. And the Bitcoin versus gold market cap is at 10.64%. And the total percentage of Bitcoin that will ever be issued is currently at 94.37%, roughly around 19.8 million. And the realized monetary inflation, as we like to say, taking fiat currencies to school, is currently at 1.03%. If you guys remember, yesterday was literally at 1.4%, 1.04%. So, slowly inking down. You might want to get some Bitcoin. It seems like the hardest, best money in the world. But what do I know? I'm biased here. Anyways, I am super glad we have Mr. M on today's show because he's also a fellow content creator and he dabbles in a lot of the, quote unquote crypto spaces, but he's a Bitcoiner. And, it's a dirty word here, but I think we've been all watching this and especially there's kind of two thinkings on this idea right now. Obviously, we all saw President Trump drop a couple meme coins, and it seems like Wall Street's coming into Bitcoin, and they're going to unleash a whole new round of shitcoinery into the market. But for a lot of people on the sidelines that are more on the crypto side, they're all waiting for this altcoin season, the mythical altcoin season that everyone thinks is around the corner. And I've been seeing a lot of sentiment on Twitter where people that aren't Bitcoin only are literally losing their minds. They're like depressed, they're losing their wealth, and they're wondering what is going on. Well, we got a great chart here from River. Shouts out to River Financial for this chart. And it's showing the decoupling of Bitcoin and quote unquote crypto markets. And for the audio listeners, you can see that historically, the Bitcoin markets and the crypto markets were pretty well aligned. You can see that when Bitcoin pumped in 2018, the altcoin market pumped. When Bitcoin pumped in 2021, the altcoin market pumped, and they're pretty much following the Bitcoin market verbatim. They're in parallel, and it's kind of the cycle theory for the last couple of years, or rather for the whole existence of Bitcoin, is that once Bitcoin pumps, people try to cycle their gains into altcoin so that they can make more Bitcoin. And so the altcoin season usually lags the Bitcoin market moving up. Everything is riding on the coattails of Bitcoin. Well, it looks like this time might be different. Now, obviously, this data you could argue that maybe there's a delay, there's a lag in the markets. Or you can argue that maybe altcoin season is over. Maybe there will not be another altcoin season. Obviously, I don't think altcoins are dead or shitcoins are dead. I think people will always inevitably want to gamble. And as long as you're gambling, then, have fun. If you want to gamble, go buy some lottery tickets in the altcoin market. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. All I'm going to tell you is that the best and safest investment is, of course, Bitcoin. Well, if you're watching the video, you can see that the Bitcoin market cap is decoupling from the altcoin market. While the Bitcoin market is moving up, the altcoin markets are moving down. And so is this a growing trend that we're seeing that we will see in 2025 is that Bitcoin is finally decoupling from the altcoin markets. And I've been saying it on the show for a long time that one of the duties that we have as a Bitcoiner, as Bitcoin content creators, is to continue to separate Bitcoins from altcoins, that these are two fundamentally different beasts. Remember, Warren Davidson in Congress said on official record, there is Bitcoin and there is shitcoins. This was officially in Congress, and it's seemingly looking like this is playing out in real time. So I don't think that we're never going to see an altcoin season, but it looks like historically the same memes that we've been seeing are starting to break down. So, hey, if I was someone here watching this show, because we do sometimes get people in the chat going, hey, what about this coin? What about that coin? And we're always just like, it's Bitcoin only. That's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing that's going to be around for the longest. This is the safest bet. This is the bet that everything else is riding off of. As we like to say, altcoins are just a way to steal your Bitcoin. It's looking like the data in the markets are kind of proving our point that eventually all roads lead to Bitcoin. People are getting tired of the altcoins. They're losing their value. So if this decoupling continues and Bitcoin continually starts to separate from the crypto markets, obviously that's good for Bitcoin. It's good for us, but I think it's also good for new entrants into the space. They'll start to look at altcoins and realize, wait, why would I want to hold that? Why do I want to gamble my wealth, my savings, when I can just put it into something that's safe, that I know that's going to be here long term, that is going to continue to preserve my value? And that's the whole game that we've been talking about here constantly as Bitcoiners. Yes, saving isn't as sexy as saying, hey, if I throw $1,000 in this shitcoin, I can 100x it, versus being like, hey, just store generational wealth for the long term. This is how you succeed, is simply by saving. There's a whole new game now where you don't have to become an investor or a gambler to just succeed in life. All you have to do is provide value, save it in Bitcoin, and just repeat this process constantly. Now, I'm going to pass it over to Mr. M Crypto before I pass it to Chris, because like I said, you know, you as a content creator, you have worked with some of the biggest crypto channels in the world, though you are a Bitcoiner. You're Bitcoin only. You were telling me before the show, you're like, it's Bitcoin, not crypto. That's my main message. But as someone that's been involved and, you know, works and consults a lot of channels, what's your thinking and what's your thought process when you see that Bitcoin is decoupling from the crypto markets?
That's super exciting. I think, sadly, I don't think it's going to be forever. I think we will see an altcoin season. It might change a little bit in a sense that people like to take profit in other assets. So we'll see a rotation eventually. In fact, if you measure it, depending on how you measure it, but for example, Solana and XRP, they had some success over Bitcoin in the short term, because in the long term, there is no chance, right? So I'm with you. Bitcoin is the only thing I like to put my money into. It's the only asset I invest into it. But I think we'll see a rotation coming in, because at the end of the day, people are greedy and they want to multiply their stack. And as I say all the time, if you think 60% a year is not enough, something is fundamentally wrong with you, because Bitcoin is doing more than enough on average, because it goes up when we are in a bull market more, of course. But if you think about returns, I think it makes sense. But I think, sadly, we will see a rotation. We will see Ethereum moving. We will see Solana moving, especially with the stockpile announcement, which we will hopefully find out soon. But if by any means or any chance there is a government of the United States buying some digital assets on top of Bitcoin, we will see some degenerate gambling happening and people are going to invest. Also, the Crypto Zara is kind of involved in Solana. There is a fantastic thread on Twitter where he talks about it. So I think, you know, I wouldn't say altcoin season is not going to happen. I would say it might be delayed, but I think time will tell for sure.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, I don't think altcoin seasons are dead. It just seems like maybe there is better understanding in the market from new entrants. I've been saying this for a long time, that it seems like as the education levels around Bitcoin continue to go up, as there's better content and it's more easily digestible, people very quickly get to the Bitcoin message over, you know, real thinking that, oh, wait, Bitcoin's my space and I need to go buy, you know, X coin for, you know, whatever I need to, you know, I need to buy ice cream coin so I can buy ice cream. And it's like, no, that's not how things are going to work out in the future. But everyone loves to gamble, like lottery tickets. I think I saw a metric from, man, I'm blanking on who's, Chris, you might know Larry Lepard. I saw a tweet from Larry Lepard today or yesterday, and he said, you know, like lottery tickets is $100 billion market right now, and this is just a, you know, an indication of where the fiat system is that people are gambling to try to get ahead in a system that is designed to steal from you. And so I think that we will always see gambling, but hopefully as more entrants come into the market, they're able to get the Bitcoin message quicker, and they understand that the real game is trying to just save in Bitcoin. The game is it's a game of accumulation. Acquire as much Bitcoin as possible, live your life, and the life is going to be better. And I think we're starting to kind of get more signals in the market that are showing that that is the case, that new entrants are coming in and they're realizing, hey, all I need to do is just save in Bitcoin. Why complicate this thing? Why look at the charts all the time? Why go mad behind the charts and lose my savings, my entire net worth, when I can just pile it into Bitcoin and go and live my life? It's so simple. It's absolutely amazing. Anyways, Chris, you're a Bitcoiner. You've been around for a while. You remember the altcoin seasons in the past. So what's your thoughts on seeing the Bitcoin market start to decouple from the crypto shitcoin markets?
It means we're converting more people to Bitcoin only, Opti. That's what it means. If you can bring up the chart real quick, there's something I want to show on the chart. So obviously we see, like in the 2024 mark, basically they're still correlated, mostly correlated for the most part. And then we see in 2024, basically for pretty much all of it, it's chopping sideways for other cryptocurrencies, where Bitcoin's going to new all-time highs. I forget who brought this up recently, but basically they see that the crypto folks are starting to realize there's Bitcoin, then there's everything else. What do I mean by that? President 47th in the United States, President Trump, 2 days, 3 days before inauguration, launched Trump coin. All of us were like, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? I have no idea you're shit coining. So anyway, it went to a max of $75 per coin based on the whole market cap. And now it's at $25 per coin. So that's a 66% haircut on the meme coin. I mean, a day later, he was like, oh, Melania is dropping her coin. And then I made the joke like, oh, who's next? Barron, Don Jr., all these other people. Literally, I think Barron's coin
dropped one.
Yeah, dropped like a few days later. So with that being said, basically they're cannibalizing each other. I don't think the majority of the Bitcoiners, I'll speak for myself. I know I didn't. I'll speak for Opti as well, but I think the majority of Bitcoiners are like, what are you doing? I'm not going to buy this. This is a rug pull. This is a scam. I think people are wising up or getting smarter to it, where maybe back in 2017, 2018, you could trick people with the ICO phase. Your team feels like you're buying into a project or a company, and really it's just a gigantic rug pull. But what I think a lot of people are seeing is crypto is cannibalizing crypto. So basically that's why it's a flatline trade. Like basically you're moving your gains from one thing to another thing that while one thing's going up, your other crypto assets are going down. So that's why it's Bitcoin and everything else. Opti said he will not give financial advice. This is not financial advice, but I'll just say stay humble and stack sats. That's my opinion.
Yes, guys, this is not financial advice. We are just YouTubers reading things. But if I were, I would just stack sats and stay humble. Oh my goodness, that's too good. That's too good. All right, guys. Well, we are moving on to the show. We have a very interesting story on today's news show. It looks like we are getting some higher level FUD coming at Bitcoin. So we're entering new echelons here in Bitcoin FUD level, and I think it's going to be a very interesting show. Anyways, guys, smash the like button to help us push this because of the snafu we had with YouTube, but push us in the algo. And actually, before we move on, Maurizio was telling us some YouTube hacks before the show. So drop 1 in the chat if you have bought Bitcoin today. Drop a 2 in the chat if you are broke and have no fiat left. Let's move on to the next segment of the show. We got a jam-packed show for you.
I want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor, Compass Mining. They make Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone, from beginners to experienced investors. Their turnkey miners gets you online and hashing within 48 hours, making it easier than ever to start your mining journey. Plus, with their active marketplace, you can resell your miner at any time, adding flexibility and value to your investment. Visit their website to access a wealth of resources, learning everything you need to know about Bitcoin mining. Take your first step into the world of Bitcoin mining with confidence. Discover more at compassmining.io. Again, compassmining.io, and see how Compass Mining can power your success. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US, and it integrates seamlessly with their free app called Envoy. Passport is fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a classic feature phone, so you'll know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. It's also air-gapped, meaning Bitcoin stays offline, never touching an internet connection. It's Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, air-gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes with Passport at foundation.xyz/simply. Get peace of mind.
Oh, sorry, guys. Who dis? New phone. Who dis? No, I'm playing. Make sure you get yourself a Passport by Foundation. It's beautiful, completely open source. And I'm maybe stretching a little bit. It's grandma friendly if you connect this with your Envoy app. It's by far becoming my favorite wallet, not just because they sponsor us, but because it's just so easy to use. You need to get yourself a Passport by Foundation. It is the best hardware wallet, or rather maybe the simplest hardware wallet. It's just beautiful. It's beautifully designed. Anyway, scan the QR code and use the promo code SIMPLY. All right, guys, we got a saga for you here. technically you could say maybe this isn't news, but you know, since I had a guest on today and we're going to be talking about Maurizio and his journey in the culture, this would really more be like a culture segment. But hey, you know, when we see some new FUD and it comes from some high level Nobel laureates, you just love to break it down. You just love to break it down. And we have some response from Safety, which is just absolutely just dome shots here, you know, headshots, metaphorically headshots here in a video game. All right, so what am I talking about? What would you say, Chris?
I was just saying, you know, all metaphorically. No violence. We don't condone violence.
Exactly. This is all metaphorical. You know, that was that was an analogy, you two. We're not calling for violence here. Oh man, I probably just wrecked it even more. Anyways, the headline is Nobel laureate Eugene Fama predicts Bitcoin will become worthless. Oh my God. Imagine reading this and being a normie. And then really when you get to his reasoning, it's just ass backward. Anyway, this dropped yesterday. And I'm just going to read the first part here because we don't have to read the whole article. But if you guys want to go read it, you know, go search it and you can see just how flawed the thinking is. But reading a little bit of this, Nobel Prize winning economist, a Nobel Prize winning economist, guys. You hear this? A Nobel Prize winning economist is saying Bitcoin will become worthless. Imagine being someone that isn't a Bitcoin and reading this like, man, I'm not buying Bitcoin. Look, a Nobel Prize winning economist says Bitcoin's going to zero. Anyways, Nobel Prize winning economist Eugene Fama argues that Bitcoin is fundamentally flawed and predicts it has a near certain chance of becoming worthless within a decade. And it goes, in a conversation with Luigi Zingales and Bethany McLean, Fama explained why Bitcoin's extreme volatility, lack of intrinsic value, and violation of basic monetary principles makes its long-term survival unlikely. So again, just reading part of this, Eugene Fama, pioneer of the efficient market hypothesis and Nobel laureate in economics, predicts that Bitcoin has a close to 100% probability of becoming worthless within the next decade. The stark prediction from the University of Chicago professor comes at a time when Bitcoin has achieved a $2 trillion market cap, making it the 7th most valuable asset globally. Okay, so Nobel Prize winning economist, when Bitcoin is literally the 7th most valuable asset in the world, he's like, no, it's going to zero, bro. Like, just trust me, bro. Trust me on this. Like, I have the theories and the models, bro. You know, the fact that the market is pricing this at $2 trillion, that's besides the point. My models and my theories are the real thing that is correct. Instead of acknowledging reality, he's like, no, let me tell you why Bitcoin's going to zero in a decade. Anyways, quote, cryptocurrencies are such a puzzle because they violate all of the rules of a medium of exchange. They don't have stable real value. You know, they have highly variable real value. That kind of medium of exchange is not supposed to survive. It's not supposed to be happening. And yet it is, Fama. Fama's skepticism stems from fundamental contradictions in Bitcoin's design. As Zingales explained during the discussion, the problem with all crypto is, in order to create some trust in the system, you basically bound the supply. And once you bound the supply, the price is driven entirely by demand. This fixed supply combined with fluctuating demand leads to price volatility that makes Bitcoin unsuitable as a currency. When asked directly by Zingales about the probability that Bitcoin's value would go to zero within 10 years, Fama responded, I would say it's close to 1. However, he acknowledged uncertainty about the timing, noting that, quote, the distribution has long tails, meaning that there's significant uncertainty about exactly how and when any potential collapse might occur. God, you gotta love this. You gotta love the FUD. Anyways, reading a little more, because I think here is like the crux of the conversation. The future of monetary theory. Fama's prediction carries particular weight given his foundational work on efficient capital markets, wherein prices fully reflect what we know about future values. Again, I'm going to repeat that again. Fama's prediction carries particular weight given his foundational work on efficient capital markets, wherein prices fully reflect what we know about future values. Sounds like a lot of predicting here. While acknowledging that his efficient market hypothesis is, quote, just a model that must be wrong to some extent, as all economic models are, he maintains that it accurately describes how most people should approach investing. I'm hearing a lot of shoulds, a lot of my thesis is predicting this. It reminds me of the guy at the beginning of the show. He's kind of doing really well on Bitcoin, kind of known as the Bitcoin billionaire. He kind of has the most biggest gains in the market right now. You know, he's behind MicroStrategy. His name's Michael Saylor, who says all your models are broken. Anyways, the persistence of Bitcoin poses a challenge to established economic principles. I'm hoping it will bust, Fama said, because if it doesn't, you have to start all over with monetary theory. He suggested that if Bitcoin maintains its value long-term, economists would need to fundamentally rethink their understanding of money and markets. Oh my goodness. Wow. Yes, Fama. Yes, that is the case. You need to fundamentally reevaluate all of your thesis and your understanding of economics. Now, just to put a little salt on this wound, we have Safety Namas, of course, the illustrious author of the Bitcoin Standard, a Austrian economist, obviously a big antagonist to the Keynesians out there. He literally hates Keynesians. I don't know if you can say the H word here on YouTube, but there's a very, very real vitriol from Safety to the Keynesians, and he just doubled down on it. And Safety goes, Eugene Fama is right. Bitcoin means you have to start all over with monetary theory. Economists fundamentally rethink your understanding of money and markets today with the Bitcoin Standard. And I think this is just a perfect zeitgeist of what we're seeing from the traditional financial world, from traditional economists, obviously Keynesian economists. They look at Bitcoin through a certain lens, and they've been taught for their whole lives. They have the accolades, they have the degrees, and they've been taught about the world that it works one way. But in the face of reality, which is the price of Bitcoin, we consider the free market of money. It's real-time metrics. This is reality. This is what Bitcoin is doing. It is fundamentally bringing economics, our economy, back to reality instead of this lie that we've all been told about fiat money and Keynesian economics and how this actually works. And trust us, bro, we have the accolades and the degrees, and we're super smart. You know, I have a PhD, and this is how the world works. And us Bitcoiners over here, especially me, you know, 45 IQ Bitcoin over here is like, it looks like your thesis is wrong, because one of the ways to know whether you are right is if, you know, you're able to predict the future, if you're actually able to make some gains. Like, if you're so smart, why are you missing out on, what is it now? I don't know, million plus gains on Bitcoin? Like, you know, hold on to your PhDs, bro, because I don't know. I'd much rather have the number go up of Bitcoin than believing my PhDs. Though I do love him saying all models are broken, but some are useful. And it's like, well, maybe your model is trash. Maybe it's already been broken. Now, going further a little bit, I will read this long post by Safety, because he completely dismantles this, and then we'll talk about it. So Fama's mistake is to conflate the emergent characteristics of money stability, which results from it being chosen as money for a fundamental property that causes it to become as money. In fiat economics, benevolent, wise economists and bankers bestow upon society a stable money that allows trade to take place. Something unstable in value cannot become money because it is unstable. If fiat economics is right, Bitcoin died by 2012 at the least, but it didn't. In real world economics, unburdened by having to lie to get Federal Reserve research grants, money emerges on the market through people's actions and trades with one another because of its inherent economic properties, not inherent value. I'm so tired of the inherent value thing. Money that is hard to make rewards its holders with more purchasing power, whereas money that is easy to make destroys the purchasing power of its holder. Over time, liquid wealth concentrates in the best store of value, which means it becomes a thing in which people have the largest cash balances. This makes money more stable. This makes money the most saleable good with the largest liquidity. That salability and large liquidity is what causes the market value of money to become relatively stable. The larger the market, the less likely any particular transaction will move the price too much. Because of the very deep cash balances people hold, they stand ready to buy and sell large quantities of the money with the least amount of variation in price of any good. The stability of money emerges as a consequence of being chosen as a money by the market. It does not cause it to become money. Things aren't born stable. They only become relatively stable when there are large cash balances held in them. And what causes something to become money is its ability to hold value, as I explained in the Bitcoin Standard. So absolutely destroyed here from, you know, Safety Amos. Nobel Prize winning economists, absolutely wrecked and devastated in the chat. Imagine believing these people. Imagine trusting them with your life savings And in the face of all of economic reality, they just continue to double down and be like, wait, but like my PhD, bro, like my thesis is something different. And all of us here are like, that's cool. I love your theories. Like, great theory here. But why is Bitcoin still alive? If you were right, it should be dead. And yet, in the face of all of this, people double down. And I'm reminded, we said it this week, you know, it's hard to convince someone of something when their salary depends on that very thing to exist. And I think this is where we are. And really, the part that is horrible about this, the part that is really devastating, is imagine being one of these uninformed but well-to-do people, you know, well-intentioned people, and you see this. And you start to think, wow, maybe I shouldn't put my money in Bitcoin. And we're on the eve of what we think to be an incredible bull run here. Everyone should be saving in Bitcoin. And yet we have people with PhDs, with the degrees, with the accolades, still coming out here, doubling down against Bitcoin in the face of their thesis and their models being wrong. And all of us Bitcoiners have just adapted to economic reality. And soon enough, I think the whole world will have to adapt to economic reality. And you guys are just on the front lines. You guys are just the early adopters, the early innovators. And we just see the world in a totally different light because, for lack of better words, you know, we weren't brainwashed by Keynesian economics, and, you know, we didn't invest all of our life savings into being a PhD economist. And therefore, we are incentivized to look at something that is going to make our lives better, which is, of course, saving in Bitcoin, continuing to accumulate Bitcoin. But man, I could probably keep going on, but for the sake of having some guests on the show, I'm gonna pass it over to Chris because there's so many holes in just that little bit of the article that I read that is literally making me want to tear my hair out. So, Chris, what's your thoughts on reading a Nobel Prize winning economist tell us that Bitcoin is going to zero in the next decade?
Someone in the chat said it's basically just a prize for military industrial complex employee of the year, which I was cracking up. I think that's genius. Yeah, I mean, all these people have been wrong. They give each other fake awards. They pat themselves on the back. They say, good job. I'm thinking of like George W. Bush, like mission accomplished, like floating above when they're like completely wrong. Like Paul Krugman, you know, famous economist, you know, he's another Nobel Prize winner. He said, you know, the internet's going to be no more important than the fax machine. Well, here we are 20 years later, and look at how wrong he was. Like, literally, businesses are built on it. I mean, we're using the internet right now. He uses the internet every day for his tweets that no one cares about. You know, like people like Peter Zeihan that were like, you know, back in, what was that, 2023 or tail end of 2022, when he's like, oh, Bitcoin's at 16.5K. It's got another 17.5K to go down. And Rogan was literally like, ooh, like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, it can go negative. It's like, if Bitcoin were to go negative, Opti and I are like, you just send us your Bitcoin. Just send us all your Bitcoin. We'll gladly take it off your hands, and you're paying us to do so. We'll gladly do that. Yeah, I mean, these people are just forever wrong. And, you know, I have no disregard or respect for these people. I mean, they'll buy Bitcoin at the price they deserve. You know, I'm definitely more sympathetic to families that are, you know, both parents are working. They have a few kids in school. They're barely keeping their heads above water. The single mom that's working a job to, you know, feed and provide for her family. Like, I understand if she doesn't understand the nuances of economy, how fiat money's printed, the Federal Reserve, like Bitcoin in general. Like, I'm more sympathetic to someone like that. But like these economists that like sniff their own farts online, that like write these puff pieces in like the New York Times and the Washington Post, like I have zero respect for them because they don't care to learn. You know, people are disproving their points. You know, there's the famous FUD dice that, like, you know, the FUD that just keeps coming up over and over again, that you can just kind of like repeat on ad nauseum, like what they say, and they bring up the same points, even if they've been debunked with evidence, with data and everything. I mean, Bitcoin's sitting at $105,000 right now, and they're saying it's going to go to zero. I mean, it's almost at a new all-time high. It has only been in the 100K range for maybe 60 days of Bitcoin's entire existence. So like, and they're saying, nope, it's going to zero. Like, you know, it's hitting all-time highs, 7th most valuable asset in the world. And they're saying it's going to go to zero. So I just have no respect for these people. You shouldn't either. You shouldn't listen to their advice. The one word of caution I'll say is when these people are finally saying to buy, like we might actually be at an all-time top ever. Like, you know, but I hope that that's like 25, 30, 40 years from now. But even then, I know fiat's, you know, designed to debase forever. So just keep buying. And that's just not financial advice, but stay humble and stack sats. And I think you'll be very greatly rewarded in the future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And also, you know, I do want to pass it over to Maurizio, and then I think I want to talk about something before we go into the culture. But let's not forget, Paul Krugman is also a Nobel Prize winning economist, and he's been wrong about everything. And these are the people that people are trusting with their life savings. It's like, look, I get it. You know, we were kind of joking earlier, like this isn't financial advice. Like we're just dudes on YouTube. You know, we're just talking heads on YouTube. So I get why you don't trust us. We don't wear a suit. We don't take ourselves seriously. But when you really just look at the data, I don't know about you, but it seems like maybe these people are wrong. Like hopefully their degrees keep them warm once they have fun staying poor at the very end of the day, because hey, you want to double down against Bitcoin? All right, bro, have fun. We'll be having fun playing with our Bitcoins over here. And we're just proving a whole new economic model in real time. And I think the real feel for the people like Eugene Fama is what Safety said in the beginning, that yes, you have to fundamentally rethink your ideas of economics and of monetary theory. And, you know, Satoshi had the prescient point of view here where he just drops something that fundamentally rocks the world, and we all get to, you know, live off his coattails. We all get to live a better life because of this technology, this software that is Bitcoin. And the PhDs, the Keynesian economists out there, they're just completely in disbelief about what's going on, because it goes contrary to everything they've ever believed, ever been taught, ever been brainwashed, and they can't understand it. And it's just so beautiful to watch these people freak out. Anyways, I've ranted enough. Mauricio, what's your thoughts when you hear a Nobel Prize winning economist say that Bitcoin is going to zero in a decade?
I think it's wonderful because it shows how early it is, right? So I mean, silver lining here, like when you have people coming up and saying things like, there is a website called Bitcoin Obituaries where it shows the Bitcoin has died almost 500 times. And these things happen cyclically, right? People are saying things, they don't study, they don't know what they're talking about. I think it's great. It means 100,000 is nothing. It's just the beginning, right? An opportunity by definition is finding something that is not popular yet. So these guys coming out and saying these things, great. I mean, it's marketing for Bitcoin, you know, and it shows us how early we are. So I'm trying to find a positive, of course, because it doesn't make any sense when you think about it, but it does. I mean, there is a lot of people, like I was talking to Zubi, a friend of mine, not long ago. He's in Dubai. And we were saying, I've actually asked ChatGPT how many people are in crypto, right? And we know Bitcoin is half, more or less, of crypto. And we have about 6% of the planet in crypto. And of that 6%, about 3% is in Bitcoin. So it's basically, these numbers are super low. So I'm not surprised to see Bill Gates coming out and saying things like that it's, among other people, rat poison. We've got them all, right? We collected them all. So I think overall it's really positive. It makes me smile. It makes me think, okay, so maybe $1 million is going to come faster than I think it would be. You know what I mean?
Love it. Love it. Yes, I couldn't agree more. And I really love your take there, where this just also proves how early we are. And this is a constant thread and theme that we hear people coming into Bitcoin. Obviously, you and I've probably been in Bitcoin for most of my adult life at this point. You probably as well. Chris has been here for, you know, since 2020. And even though we're so caught up in the Bitcoin mess, obviously we're all in echo chambers. So sometimes it's hard to, you know, pull your head up for some air and realize what the normie world is talking about. But stuff like this does show just how early we really are in the adoption of Bitcoin. And like you said, that just means maybe $1 million Bitcoin is a lot closer than we think. It's absolutely incredible, especially when we get, as the chat is saying, this type of elite FUD. You just love to see it. You just love to see them freaking out about why Bitcoin is doing what it does, and they can't wrap their head around it. And it's so beautiful to see. Actually, one more thing, and I'm glad that SatStacker brought this up because I did want to touch on this a little bit. SatStacker says, no, you're tired of no intrinsic value. Yes, to clarify, I think I said I'm tired of this intrinsic value conversation go up. But yes, it is, to be clear, this idea of no intrinsic value. And obviously, as an amateur Austrian economist, I very simply always say, like, there is no such thing as intrinsic value. There's no such thing as intrinsic value. Everything is from a vantage point. Everything is essentially, I say it and I get yelled at, like, everything is speculation. You know, you can look at something, not find value in it, but someone else can look at something and find value. And that's how the economy works. That's how people make value judgments in the market. This is what we're talking about. But it's funny when people with PhDs kind of stand on their high horse and be like, no, trust me, bro, this has no intrinsic value. This is breaking all the laws of medium of exchange. It should not be money. And the other thought was like, there was a lot of should there. And as an economist, you should want to kind of look at reality, make a value judgment based on the data you're seeing from reality, not this idea of like, oh, it should be like this. This is how the economy should be. It should work based on my theory. And in reality, instead of scrapping their theories, their models, they're just like, no, this shouldn't be working. It's going to zero in 10 years. Anyway, let me see. Is this, are you guys just chatting in the chat? Okay. They're just chatting in the chat. They're distracting me. All right, guys. Well, we got the bulk of the show, but I'm really excited to have this conversation with Maurizio because he's a fellow content creator. And also he's been in Bitcoin for longer than I have. So we're going to pick his brain on his Bitcoin journey, making content. And for you guys in the chat, I've seen a lot of newer Bitcoiners in the chat. Drop your questions for Bitcoin OG in the chat. And if we got enough time, we will cover it. So let's get into the culture.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, HIVE Digital Technologies. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's been battle tested through every possible market. And as the first with an AI strategy, HIVE continues to redefine the future of sustainable energy. Also, gotta casually drop this in here, HIVE consistently tops the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're changing the game. Learn more by following them at HIVE Digital Tech or check out their website, hivedigitaltech.com.
All right, boys and girls, before we get into the culture conversation, of course, we're paying the bills here. Make sure you go to BitBlockBoom. It's April 3rd to April 6th in Dallas, Texas. We're going to take over Dallas, Texas for a true Bitcoin conference. This is our home conference. This conference has a very special place in the Simply Bitcoin lore. This is where Nico and I met in the flesh. For the first time, we've been chatting on Twitter and Discord and Telegram for years. And then we finally hung out at BitBlockBoom. This is a very special conference for us, and it's a small conference. So that means you can hang out with the whole Simply Bitcoin team, all of your favorite Bitcoiners, but really make beautiful connections with other Bitcoiners, just really down-to-earth Bitcoiners. Some of my favorite Bitcoiners I met out of this, and they're like my family now. So make sure you get to Dallas, Texas, April 3rd through April 6th for a BitBlockBoom. And of course, if you're trying to stack some more sats, we will be streaming this live on our channel. So you're not going to miss any of the content, but you're going to miss the very special environment, the very special vibe of being in Dallas, Texas. All right, now moving forward, I'm going to just pull up your YouTube here. We'll plug this in the beginning, Maurizio. So Maurizio, fellow content creator, Mr. M Podcast. But before we get into the content and the conversation that I want to talk about, let's just, kind of drop some context here, bro. You've been in Bitcoin for 12 years. Absolutely incredible. So just kind of to pick your brain a little bit, let's talk about maybe start with your Bitcoin rabbit hole journey and then the progression that you've seen Bitcoin take in the last 12 years of your life.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for showing my YouTube. Really happy to be here with you guys again. So yeah, everything started, I was in London. I was born in Italy, north side of Italy, near Lake Como, but I've traveled a lot. I'm 50, I lived 30 years abroad, so I've been in places. And when I was in London in 2013, my brother, which has been my North Star for my entire life, said, hey, we need to buy this Bitcoin thing. And I was like, dude, whatever, man, take some money, let's invest them. And we kind of started by... Back then, you could hire computing power and do mining online. So there were a bunch of companies that were kind of lending you computing power, CPUs, and allow you to mine. So we started like this. I didn't know what I was doing. I wanted to make money fast. I hadn't read anything. I was hoping to double my money as many other people, probably buying the top. I think it was $203, something in that region.
Amazing.
And in 2013, we gone to 1,000. So there was a huge move there. And of course, when we wanted to take out our money, because we wanted to basically recash them into pounds, because it was in London, British pounds, we could not access our sats, not your keys, not your cheese, as we say, right? So first lesson was get custody. Then, of course, oh, Bitcoin is a scam. We got scammed. This is terrible, because I didn't understand what I was doing. And I blamed the Bitcoin, whether in fact there was a third party in between me and my investment, which was the lesson. And I like to say it all the time, you have to pay your tuition. It doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter when, it doesn't matter what. At some point, this thing is going to test you, and you have to pay your tuition. So it's better to pay it in the beginning than in the end, because this thing is going up, right? It's going up forever, Laura. So the sooner you pay the tuition, the cheaper, the better it is. So that was kind of my entrance into the Bitcoin. I wanted to make money fast. I didn't know, I didn't study, I didn't do my work. And we started mining, which was a thing back then. Now mining is barely profitable, and the business has shifted. And in terms of adoption, a lot has happened, man. I mean, the fact that we have people on YouTube, talking shows, you guys, books, conferences, oh my God, the whole thing has gone. Still, like you said, in an echo chamber, we are a small bubble, but it's gone way more than back then, right? I mean, still, if you talk to some normie and if you say you are all in like I am, I'm all in Bitcoin, literally. I live in Dubai, I pay no taxes. I'm all in Bitcoin. I have next to no fiat or dirham, as we call it here. It's like currency. And when I speak to normal people, they think I'm completely crazy, and maybe I am, but still early. But a lot has happened. It's becoming more easy to access. There is so much more education. There is people talking about it. There is I don't call Trump a Bitcoin president. I call him a crypto president, which is different. The only the only Bitcoin president is Bukele, if you ask me. But we have a bunch. We have people in parliament. So a lot has happened, and a lot will happen in the next decade. I think it's going to propel us to the moon, literally. So it's been a journey, not a straight line, like the Bitcoin chart, up and down, up and down. A lot of learning, a lot of lessons. And I think I will still learn until I breathe, right? This is something you will do until the day you die. So I'm not an expert by any means. I'm here. I show up every day. I do what I love. And Bitcoin allowed me to be free, right? So it's been an interesting journey. I've seen my network vaporize itself. I mean, I've never sold a single Satoshi, actually, fun fact, since I went in. So it's been a ride. When you see, I know it's they say seeing there and going there is different. But when you look at your Bitcoin stack into a bear market, man, it's cold. It's not easy. So now I got used to it. It's been over a decade, so I'm fairly comfortable in not checking my portfolio every day. I actually do the math every cycle, but it's been an interesting journey. That's to say the least.
Well, I have a few questions there.
Go for it.
But the first one is just a kind of a playful question, because I know a lot of people that are in Bitcoin for a long time, or rather people that are in Bitcoin that are new to Bitcoin, they check the price of Bitcoin a lot. So as an OG, do you check the Bitcoin price?
Well, of course, I like the Bitcoin price to go up, but if you do compare your Bitcoin in dollars, I think you're missing the point. Like, the game should be stack as many sats as you can, right? And of course I do. I have it in my wallet every now and then. I don't store anything, by the way, in my wallet or in my phone, but I do check the price every now and then. And when we broke 100K, I was obviously celebrating. I was waiting forever for the 100K. I was actually expecting the cycle before, but it didn't happen. So I was very happy. But I think the best you can do, I mean, that's seemed to be working for me. Do the math every cycle. So you stack like a crazy maniac for 4 years, and then whenever we correct into the bear market, which I think is going to be much more gentle, I don't think we will see a 70% correction. No chance, probably lower.
Hot take.
Then you do the math and you say, okay, I've been buying my sats, I've been stacking. I buy every week, every Friday. I dollar cost average in for whatever I have coming in from my side hustles. But I'm getting paid in Bitcoin. I store my money in Bitcoin. So I actually find it funky to deal with the banks, because I'm not used to it anymore. But then you have to plug in your life. So how do you pay rent? How do you pay bills? I drive a motorcycle. How do I buy petrol? So you need to have some sort of a fiat in your life. So funny enough for me, it's the other way around. So I have to consider my fiat spending, right? Which a normal person would probably have the opposite problem. They maybe make fiat from their job and they have to think about their dollar cost average into Bitcoin, but mine is the opposite. But no, I don't check, and I don't think it's healthy. I think you should just enter into a long-term perspective saying, okay, for the next 10 years, I'm just stacking as much as I can, and then I'll do the math. So check every 10 years if you can. It will be much healthier.
Love it, love it. Yeah, I jokingly say it on the show all the time. I never check the Bitcoin price, and then everyone's like, "But Opti, you literally say the Bitcoin price every single day. Like, what are you talking about? Like, which one is it? Do you check the Bitcoin price or do you not? Because you do it every day." But I really don't check the price too much. I kind of just follow sentiment on Twitter, and then of course I do it for my job. I do it for you guys here. But Maurizio, I do want to ask you, and there's a lot of stuff that we want to touch on, but we're kind of a little early today, so we'll keep the conversation going. But I really want to dig your brain here, because you did say something very interesting, that you think the Bitcoin price, or rather this bear market that we potentially will see 2026, isn't going to be as volatile as the past. So kind of talking about cycle theory, maybe what do you expect to see 2025? I know you said it earlier, and then maybe unpack that a little bit for the people out there. Why do you think we aren't going to get a 70-80% correction on Bitcoin? Because I kind of have a similar thought. Like I'm kind of feeling the same vibe, that this bear market, you know, potentially, I don't want to go full super cycle here for everyone, because I get yelled at when I do that, but I'm also feeling the same type of feeling that this bear market that we are potentially going to see 2026 isn't going to be as volatile as bear markets we've seen in the past. Maybe that just means a 50% correction. Obviously that's going to hurt, but I'm kind of feeling the same way, that I don't think 70-80% corrections are a thing anymore. But I'd like to hear your reasoning for that.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I'm speculating as much as anybody else. I have no way to see the future. I mean, I wish. Actually, no, because it's nice to be surprised. But anyway, I do think we will see a softer correction, because we are going up less. Like diminishing return as well as diminishing losses is supposed to be a thing. Like if we're going up less, we should go down less. Also, let's not forget that last year, January 10, changed the Bitcoin ecosystem forever with the ETF. Now we have players. Even though 80% of ETF is still retail, so retail is here, shocker, in a different form, I do believe that they will keep the price in a certain range, right? Because there is no, I mean, this is my opinion. Of course, I could be wrong. You can clip me. But I think we will see a softer correction for these two reasons. One, we are going up less, which means we should go down less. And if you look at the price over the past forever, since Bitcoin was ignited, you can see that we diminished, indeed, returns both ways. So it's becoming softer. I think the one before was 70, the one before it was 80. So there is a 9 to 12% diminishing into the corrections. And also, like I said, we're going up less. ETFs, there is different players. Whoever buys Bitcoin now, like retail is more kind of volatile, if you let me say it, because, you know, when we buy something and it doubles, okay, we are more keen to sell it. But when an institution goes in, when pension funds, they probably have a longer time frame, right? So I think we'll see less volatility. Super cycle is a fantastic one. Every cycle is the same. This is my fourth. Every cycle, everyone's saying super cycle, super cycle. Eventually, it will happen. It will happen eventually.
Wait. Maurizio, not to cut you. One day we will meme the super cycle. Until then, we're wrong.
100%. And even though the cycles are, quote, always the same, they differ a little bit. Like if you compare 2017 to where we are now, funny enough, the price, there is a chart now flying around X, and there are some similarities. There are some things in common, but I don't think we'll mimic entirely, because that will take us to, I don't know, $10 million, which, hey, I mean, I'll be happy, but I don't think, I mean, I'm bullish, but I'm not that bullish. I don't think we're going to go and flirt with gold in terms of market cap this cycle. We will eventually surpass gold, yes, but that's 18 trillion. We are about 2 trillion now. So I think we have a long way, maybe next cycle, maybe in the next 10 years or so. So I think we'll see a softer. Also, so far, if you count corrections, I think the biggest was 28, whether in 2017 we've corrected 40%. And I remember it. I remember checking my portfolio, and I think in the matter of 12 hours, we lost stupid amounts. So it's becoming more stabilizing, right? Which also what happened to gold, I think the ETF was launched in 2014. I think it was August 2014. And when they launched the ETF on gold, we kind of seen the same thing. We kind of went bananas for a bit, and then it kind of stabilized. So overall, I think we will see a softer cycle, that's for sure. Potentially a 2026 extension in Q1 or Q2 for when it comes to the top.
Okay, awesome. Chris, send me a chart right now. Chime in here and I'll pull up the chart.
I'm going to be contrarian. I think we're going to see an 80% drawdown or more. So this is the chart, the infamous chart of Weimar Germany, obviously priced in German marks. This is the price of gold relative to that. The red is the rate of change of those oscillations of when hyperinflation was occurring. So obviously this is a microcosm, but you know, our favorite economists such as the Paul Krugmans or the FEMA, whoever, tell us like, oh, the US can't hyperinflate because we're the world reserve currency, yada, yada, yada. It's never going to be the dollar because we're the best, blah, 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 blah. I think that, yeah, we may not see it this cycle, but things are only going to get more crazy. And I say that not because Bitcoin is insane in volatility. It's because fiat is insane in volatility. Look at the oscillations at the very end there. Like, you know, the oscillations are getting bigger, getting bigger, getting bigger.
In a little bit.
Yeah, like they're getting bigger. Like when you look at 1917 to about like, I guess, in between 1917 and 1920, the oscillations are big, but they're not gigantic. In the last couple of years, as it's hyperinflating relative to gold, you're seeing these massive oscillations. So I would say that I agree, like there's a lot of things backstopping it, but I could see like this whole house of cards that we talk about, like one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. That's true in the Bitcoin system. But when you abstract it to fiat, which fiat, the price of Bitcoin in fiat is a fiat abstraction. Like the Bitcoin network doesn't care, doesn't know, doesn't give a damn what it is. That's basically just on exchanges, like the buy and sell orders. I think over time, we're going to see crazy oscillations. And like even the most hardened Bitcoiners and Bitcoin maxis that are like, oh, I've seen a 70, 80% drawdown. They're getting less. I think they will get worse at one point. I do think a lot of other fiat currencies need to collapse in order for that to officially happen to the US dollar. But I think it's not if, it's when, obviously, Jeff Booth and Lawrence Lepard and a lot of our, wiser, older Bitcoiners that give us wisdom say, obviously, they hope for a more peaceful transition from the fiat system into the Bitcoin system. And that's obviously what we do here, try and help people learn. But I do think like I worry that Bitcoiners get caught off guards. And the way that I could easily see this happening is, so BlackRock's now into Bitcoin, Fidelity's now into Bitcoin. Obviously, Coinbase is the backer of all this. We've got like banks with SOB 121 just getting repealed, last week via executive order from President Trump. Like, if you don't think the degens of degens who caused the 2008 financial crisis, who benefited from the 2020 financial crisis, if you don't think these motherfuckers are going to take leverage and get off sides and then need the banks to bail them, or the Federal Reserve and central banks to bail them out, I got another thing coming for you guys. So I don't know. I do think that like over the long run, we will see like the price keep going up over time in fiat, obviously. And like, I do think the cycles are getting muted, but just when everyone thinks that's what's going to happen, Bitcoin causes the most amount of pain, or the markets cause the most amount of pain. So I just worry that like, oh, we've never been, below a previous all-time high before. That was broken in the last cycle. And it's like, oh, we've never seen, less than a 70% or, the 75% drawdown instead of 80 or 85. Like, I worry that like it may be a flash crash, but like that's enough to liquidate people or get people to panic or get people to sell their Bitcoin because they think they need to be back in fiat, only for the money printers to turn back on or people to start leveraging up. And then we just see the cycle like recorrect the other way. I don't know, not to call you guys out, but that's just what I can see. Like, I don't want to be caught off sides in any way, if that makes sense.
Well, no, I mean, not to be the contrarian here, Chris, so that you are doing on today's show, but I think this is very healthy for a lot of Bitcoiners and new entrants in the Bitcoin space to understand. It's like, look, we can all look at something very similar and have different views. And there's a lot of different, again, going back to the Nobel Prize winning economist over here, there's a lot of theories that we still have yet to see play out. And we're in the midst of all of this stuff happening in real time. So we can look backwards and try to get a map of where we're going. But really, none of us understand, or rather, none of us know what is actually going to happen. We can make our bets. We can kind of understand based on historical precedent what's going to happen, whether it's in Bitcoin or other hyperinflating currencies. But the message still remains the same. We don't know what's going to happen, hence why we think it's the best strategy to just continue to stack Bitcoin, take it into custody. Don't go out there and trade and try to get, a bunch of yield on your Bitcoin, whatever that actually means. It's like the safest bet while a currency is hyperinflating is just holding the hardest asset, saving in the best money period. This is how you win long term. And this is what we try to tell everyone every single day. Yeah, jump in, Chris, and then I want to pick Mauricio's brain a little more.
Yeah, and like I said, like I think still the best strategy at that time is like there'll be great opportunities. It's just, you know, what you bring home in terms of income or, you know, investments or whatever, like that, like keep your expenses lower than the amount of money you bring in every month, every week, every 2 weeks, whatever it is, you know, save the rest in Bitcoin. But like I just worry about some people with like, I know there's talk, I caveat this because there's this yield leverage products coming. So I worry that people like, we're going to the moon, it's going to be smooth sailing, and it's like you get caught off sides with a 70%, 80%, maybe a 90% drawdown. I'm not saying that will happen, but just stay humble, stack sats, spend, like save more than you spend, and you'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, totally. Okay. I do want to pivot the combo a little bit because Maurizio did say something during the show that he said he wanted to talk about before the show. And it was you saying that Trump is the first crypto president, not the first Bitcoin president. And you wanted to kind of unpack the whole digital asset stockpile. And then I'm going to transition that into the fact that you worked with a lot of the crypto influencers, content creators, and we're going to separate Bitcoin from crypto. So let's first start with the digital asset stockpile. What's your take on all that? And then maybe we'll do a little bit of dismantling Bitcoin from crypto.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, Trump has launched a bunch of 3, I think, NFT collection in the past. So we knew he had Ethereum in his portfolio and we knew what he was doing. Obviously, I was not expecting a meme coin. That's clearly something else. But I think it's getting interesting, specifically for the XRP people out there that they are calling a potential digital stockpile. If I remember correctly, I think one of the 2 founders in XRP gave money to Kamala, and he was kind of pushing for her to win. Yes. So I'm not expecting Trump because I think he remembers. But hey, I'm just speculating, of course. What's interesting is the digital stockpile because the crypto Zara is heavily involved into Solana, right? As we all know, there are a bunch of threads on Twitter. It's super interesting. They showcase why he's involved in Solana and why he believes in Solana so much. So I think there's going to be definitely a play. I mean, crypto is not going anywhere. Sadly, it's going to stay. They're going to build. The casino is going to keep gambling, of course. And I think I don't know what to expect, to be honest. I also would like to pick your guys' brain and see what you expect. I think Bitcoin is going to be the safe bet. I mean, if a state comes in for a pension fund, I don't think they're going to go and buy Solana. But there might be, like, as much as we're seeing with the ETFs, a bunch of index, right? So you can see ETF has been launched on Bitcoin first, then Ethereum came in. Now you have Solana, you have Dogecoin, you have XRP. So we will see product in the market because people are greedy, because people want to gamble, people are degenerate. So sadly, I don't think we'll be able to get rid of crypto entirely. But when it comes to stockpile, I mean, I like to think that it's not going to happen, but there might be a portion into some sort of an index where they throw in a bunch of different assets. That would not surprise me, to be honest. But the meme coin launch was on a crypto ball night was kind of hilarious, to be honest, because I have not seen that coming. That's for sure.
Yeah, and just to kind of answer your question before I move forward, my kind of view on this is, considering everything you just said, I kind of feel, and I actually been joking about this on the show for the last couple of weeks, is maybe Gary Gensler was a good guy here. You know, maybe Gary Gensler was holding back the shitcoin wave. You know, maybe we were a little too harsh on Gary Gensler because maybe he was secretly a Bitcoin maxi and knew that everything else was a security in a shitcoin. And yet now that he's gone, it looks like we are going to get a pro, and I say this for a reason, pro crypto regulations in the US, which to me means that we are probably going to see some form of unleashing of capital into the shitcoin market. So even though, as I showed earlier, we're seeing Bitcoin decouple from the crypto markets, it seems like Chris was saying, you know, Wall Street is coming in here. The biggest degens on the world are coming in here. So that just means that the degen markets are probably at some point will explode. But with that, I think is going to come just cover for Bitcoin to succeed. So if we're in a different paradigm here, where Bitcoin and crypto, quote unquote, are all lumped up into the same kind of regulation, or rather, you know, free for all here, then I think Bitcoin will win on its own merits, obviously, as the Bitcoin network does, of course, censorship resistant, permissionless, hard cap of Bitcoin, 21 million hard cap meme. the biggest liquid market, biggest saleable asset and good in the market, the superior hash rate of everything else, the fact that it's proof of work. Like, I think all of this stuff will play out on the market and people will inevitably trend towards Bitcoin. So as much as I am feeling a little dirty that we're going to see a new wave into shitcoin, I think Bitcoin's going to win. And all we really need as Bitcoiners is just for the government and the regulators and everyone to just kind of get out of our way and let Bitcoin do what it does, let Bitcoin entrepreneurs do what it does. So as long as we're not really put in cages for just being Bitcoiners, I think Bitcoin will win. So yeah, I'm kind of feeling and seeing the same thing that you are seeing, where it's like, yeah, it looks like we're going to get an unleash of degeneracy in the quote unquote crypto markets. But with that just means that Bitcoin is going to, you know, basically have the cover of all the shit coins. And then to one more of your point before I let Chris chime in on this, I think one of the biggest things that people are missing is this idea that, like, yeah, even if there is a quote unquote digital asset stockpile, meaning there is, you know, shit coins kind of lumped into the stockpiles, people like pension funds and nation state and the more conservative institutional asset managers, they don't want risk. They don't want the volatility and the uncertainty of holding a shit coin. They just want something that they know is going to be stable, reliable, goes up in value. And the only thing that fits that metric is Bitcoin. So I think we will be seeing a trend in consolidation into Bitcoin, or rather a trend of consolidating capital into Bitcoin, just because Bitcoin is, you know, as I always say, like, Bitcoin is my stable coin. It is the most stable thing in the world right now, and everything else is volatile against Bitcoin. And so I think the market will figure this out. I'm not going to go full efficient market, you know, hypothesis here, but I think at the very end of the road, all markets lead to Bitcoin. And so, yes, it looks like we might be seeing a wave of degeneracy coming to America, a free market, may I say, in the crypto markets, but I think all capital will trend into Bitcoin. But Chris, chime in here, and then I want to get Maurizio, since you do, well, you know, I'm kind of teasing you a little bit. You have worked with a lot of big crypto content creators, so we'll do a last Bitcoin versus crypto breakdown, and then we'll plug Nico's episode on the show for you. But Chris, what's your thoughts on this idea of the first crypto president versus the first Bitcoin president?
I mean, I think, you know, show me what you do, not what you say. And I think that's spot on with him being crypto president. Yeah, he'll be favorable for Bitcoin and crypto, but obviously dropping a meme coin 2 days before inauguration. I'll add one more thing, Opti, before I send it back to you. But like, the degens are going to degen. And like, if you don't think Wall Street will trade Doge or, you know, anything under the sun with a name, yeah, they'll definitely let you buy the long, or, you know, buy the asset, charge you interest on doing it, or, you know, a spread or APR, and then they'll take the short. And so that way, if it crashes, they cover themselves. So the degens will degen, and they love making money just as much as anyone else. But I think they're really fiat maxis at the end of the day, but they will too come to being on a Bitcoin standard one day. Sats are the standard.
Yeah, actually, I think you made a good point there, Chris, where the people that have financialized the world and overly complicated the financial world are going to do something very similar in the shitcoin land, where they, you know, they're going to pump their shitcoin bags, but on the back end, they're going to be hedging against their shitcoin bags, which means they win either way. And
Yeah.
the average normie is not going to understand what the hell is going on, and they're just going to get wrecked.
Heads I win, tails you lose. That's the way they play
Exactly.
by. So like, yeah, they'll sell it to you, they'll charge you interest on it, and then they'll take the short. So if it crashes, they cover themselves. So yeah, that's the way it's going to be.
It's insane. It's insane. All right, Maurizio. Let's get into the topic of Bitcoin, not crypto, because we have a friend on Rumble that usually says all crypto will be controlled, and we're always trying to educate him, but he hangs out with us anyways constantly, and he's a cash maxi. You know, he's a cash maxi, and he's like, all crypto will be controlled. Bitcoin is crypto. So, what would be your response to people, maybe new entrants into the space, trying to separate Bitcoin from crypto?
Well, I mean, clearly, if you say the Bitcoin is crypto, you understand either, right? Because Bitcoin is not crypto. But it's interesting because, you know, Bitcoin runs in proof of work, and the first work you have to do is study, right? And it doesn't take much. You just need to wanting. I mean, I think Michael Saylor says I don't talk to anyone who spent less than 100 hours, I think, in study Bitcoin. because Bitcoin is the only one. It's decentralized. There is no CEO. There is no company. We don't even know who the founder is. So decentralized completely. It's funny when people talk about decentralization. It's an interesting topic because many chains claim to be decentralized, and then you have to fill in a KYC form to run a node. So it's getting funny and interesting quite quick. But I don't put them together. I think it's potatoes and apples. The fact that we have Bitcoin doing his own thing on one side, and in fact you have Solana, XRP, Cardano, they're doing other stuff. They don't even compete one another, right? But I think it makes sense. If you're someone who understands literally nothing, you put them in the same basket. But then as soon as you enter your journey, start studying this beautiful asset, which is Bitcoin, you then understand fairly quickly that it's running its own league, right? And everything else has been a testnet for Bitcoin. I think that's how I like to see it. And of course, we will never be able to get rid of crypto. Crypto will play a role in our society, like it or not. But when it comes to store your money, store your wealth, I think you have to study Bitcoin. There is a bunch of fantastic books out there. There is plenty of podcasts like your videos that you produce every week. And so you just need to put time into it and understand where they differ, because they are fundamentally offer different propositions, right? Crypto is interesting though, because in crypto you can go and pitch, because everything is going to take you to Bitcoin one way or another. Because if you are a degenerate gambler who wants to make a lot of money fast, aka a crypto degenerate, you will soon encounter Bitcoin, because if you store your wealth into other coins, you will lose everything, right? Or it's not going to be as valuable as Bitcoin, so you will encounter it. And I've been here quite a bit, and I've seen the top 10 in CoinGecko, in CoinMarketCap, and there's only one number one. And every cycle, this cycle, Ethereum is going to flip Bitcoin. This cycle, XRP is going to flip Solana. The Ethereum killer, the Cardano killer. They are fighting for something else, right? Whether Bitcoin is king, is number one, has been number one forever. And I think it's going after gold, right? That's how I like to place them. So I think it's fundamental to understand the difference in between both. And I think we need crypto, because crypto is going to convert a lot of people into Bitcoin.
Yeah, the fastest way to being a Bitcoiner is by getting wrecked in shitcoins. This is a tried and true way to become a Bitcoin maxi. But Chris actually dropped a good comment in the chat. But before you drop that, Chris, I like to think of it like all shitcoiners are Bitcoiners, but Bitcoiners aren't shitcoiners. As you've seen constantly, if you've been in the space for a while, and there's a lot of memes that say, shitcoins are designed to steal your Bitcoin, or like shitcoins ride on the coattails of Bitcoin, or shitcoiners save in Bitcoin. Like they use their coin of choice to make their gains, and then they transfer it into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is that store of value of the quote disgusting crypto industry full with scammers and frauds. But hey, this is still technically the Wild West here. So and actually shout out to my boy Nolan. Nolan Bauer, Bauer, his new show is NPC News. It used to be The Breakup. He would always say that besides the only real goal and use of shitcoins is to be a Bitcoiner, but it's the idea that shitcoins give cover for Bitcoin. So while legislators and regulators out there are, basically trying to clamp down on every other altcoin, Bitcoin just continues to do its thing. It's kind of like our cover here, so that, hey, you go after all these frauds and scams while Bitcoiners keep building, and the Bitcoin network just keeps continuing to eat global energy, global capital. So maybe anyone in the chat that might be Bitcoin adjacent, there is a use case for your altcoin, and it it is to make more Bitcoiners. So thank you very much. But Chris, drop your comment, and then we'll plug Mauricio's podcast and YouTube so people can go check out his work.
Yeah, so Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, but cryptocurrency isn't a Bitcoin, or isn't Bitcoin. Just as a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle isn't a square. So that's just kind of a quote that I always thought about. It helps me make sense of it all, that people are like trying to compare or conflate the two. And there's a great American HODL quote. Shitcoiners love Bitcoin too. They just love your Bitcoin. So, HODL your own Bitcoin. HODL your own Bitcoin and keep it in self-custody, and don't get tricked by the sparkly new gadget or buzzword or term or whatever crypto scam that's going on next. Definitely don't buy Trump coin for Melania, for Barron, for Eric, for all his kids' coins. So
Well, guys, someone in the chat is saying, quit yapping and look at the Bitcoin price. Guys, it's over. Bitcoin crashed to 102K. Oh, my God. Wrap it up, boys. I guess the Nobel Prize winning economist was right. It's going to zero as we speak.
This is the 90% drawdown I was talking about, gents. Get ready.
It's happening.
It's happening right now.
If I called that, I'm just I get a Nobel Peace Prize. You know what I mean? Like at that point.
Satoshi Prize of Economics. But no, guys, this is just an opportunity to stack Bitcoin. Is on sale. All right, Maurizio, I'm going to pull up this episode. I will drop it for people in the chat. But just to get people excited about this and your podcast, guys, go to Mr. M Podcast on YouTube. And there is an interview with our boy Nico. So Maurizio, plug your channel, and I'll drop this link in the chat so people can go check it out and hear Nico yap a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. That's fantastic. Yeah, we had a fantastic chat. Super good. Like, I like to talk to people. The podcast was an idea came from my wife. Actually, she said, "Can you please stop talking to me about Bitcoin? Because I can't have you anymore." So I decided to open up and talk about Bitcoin. Every now and then there is a YouTuber that you might know from, BitBoy all the way. Like I said, I work with all of them in crypto, so they're all friends. But I focus mainly on Bitcoin. So, and it's getting deeper and deeper as soon as I go forward. My guests are, you can see Rinaldo and Jeff Booth, like proper Bitcoiner. Adam Back, I've spoken to in Amsterdam. So just kind of focus on Bitcoin for the main part, which I love.
Yeah, if you haven't talked to Nolan yet, Nolan Bowerly, he would be a really good interview as well.
Yeah, Nolan's the GOAT. He's one of my favorite Bitcoiners. He's great.
Nice. Yeah, I'll definitely reach out. It's definitely super interesting because even though you've seen maybe some of these people already and you've seen some of the podcast, it's different because when the host is different, the argument is different. It's fairly organic. So we talk about, all sorts of things, but related to Bitcoin. And to be honest, I don't actually hate crypto. I don't hate memes. I think it's all needed. Like, as long as you said something in the beginning, I couldn't agree more. As long as you know that you are gambling, as we say in Dubai, halas, which means it's all right. As long as you know you're gambling, there's nothing wrong going to Vegas every now and then and gamble, but you have to know that you're gambling, right? That's the main thing. But if you are thinking to retire your bloodline with a meme coin, well, probably you should study Bitcoin a little bit,
Yo.
So that's what I do on my podcast. I like to talk to people. We dive deep into the Bitcoin universe and we talk sometimes crypto, but like I said, mainly it's Bitcoin. The message is education on Bitcoin.
Yeah, no. And I mean, look, our show is Bitcoin only. Obviously, we're simply Bitcoin. We only believe in Bitcoin. We only believe you guys should be saving in Bitcoin. But I think there is a use case, and forgive the metaphor here, the analogy here, for someone to get dirty and go talk to crypto people, because people coming into the space are still kind of wrapped up in the idea of, hey, Bitcoin's cool, but look at all these cryptos out here. And so the fact that you are willing to kind of reach out there, give an olive branch, and give people the benefit of the doubt versus us, we're just like, no, we do not bring on any crypto people on this show because we don't want to push someone down the wrong direction. I think it's good to actually have some people do that, reach out and be like, look, I understand you probably think crypto's a thing. Well, here's a Bitcoiner and a shitcoiner talking, and we're going to hash out these ideas, and you can make up your own mind here. But man, continue doing what you're doing. Hopefully our audience checks out the podcast with Nico. And actually, before I wrap it up, Maurizio, you want to do one last plug to the audience, or rather, what's the last thing you want to tell our audience? It could be about Bitcoin. It could just send them to your channel. What's the final wisdom you want to leave with everyone on the show today?
Well, first of all, a massive thank you to you guys for having me on the show and for you guys to watching and supporting Simply Bitcoin, which is a fantastic show and channel. You should definitely subscribe and continue watching. I think the plug will be study Bitcoin, right? And be open. In China, they say the strongest of the bamboo is the one who bends, right? So even though I do like to save Bitcoin and I use Bitcoin as my saving, as my bank account, I stay open. I encourage conversation. I had Peter Schiff on my channel debating with Da Vinci. I had XRP versus Bitcoin. I will have Charles Hoskinson coming soon and discuss Cardano versus Bitcoin. we have to talk to each other, right? Because if you stay in your own bubble, in your own box, and you just rant at the universe without exchanging conversation, these are needed for the space for us. There is a lot of compartmentalization, as I call it, and people can just do whatever they want with their money. I'm for the free market. Like if you want to consciously, after you study for 100 hours, 200 hours, you want to go and put everything you have in XRP, I mean, who am I to stop you, right? You should definitely not do it if you ask me. But if that's something you really want to do, hey, dude, it's your money. You do what you want. So I think we have to encourage conversations. We have to encourage people talking to each other. And this is kind of always happening in technology in general. In the beginning, they reject us. I'm sure you remember electricity has been rejected, cars has been rejected. I mean, internet itself. I remember I lived the entire thing. I mean, people didn't believe internet would have gone much further, right? And it was epic. It was clear. But people like to stay in their own lane, have their blinkers on. So I encourage people to study, to read. Sometimes I actually proactively follow people I quote dislike to keep my brain engaged, right? Because sometimes when you surround yourself with people, they have the same amount of ideas, it becomes boring. So I like to smash them every now and then with a hammer and go and look for a way to always test myself, say, hey, am I on track here? Am I doing the right thing? So I think I encourage differences. I encourage debates. I mean, as long as they're polite and there's no offensiveness in the air, I think it's healthy. And I think people should talk to each other more, even if they have different opinions. That's what we should do, right? Talk to each other. And then it's up to you. Like, we are only telling stories. We are telling our perspective. It's up to you to take all these informations and make your own cake. So if there's a plug, I'll say, study, read, and hear people out, because when two people are exchanging ideas and principle, I think it's fascinating. You can learn a lot by listening.
Couldn't agree more, Maurizio. Love it. Really appreciate you coming on the show. We're going to have to bring you back on soon. So we'll reach out. We'll schedule you back on, and maybe in a couple of months, maybe some new developments in the space. Maybe we'll be pumping. Actually, maybe we'll be at zero. Who knows? We'll talk about it.
Crush 90%.
Yeah, it might be at zero. So that might be a good time to bring you on anyways. All right, Maurizio, thank you so much. Guys, again, go follow him. All of his socials are Mr. M Podcast. Really appreciate you coming on. Let me pull you behind the scenes, and I'm gonna do the same thing for Chris. Chris, I usually don't do this for you, but you want to do some last minute wisdom for everyone out there, and then we'll plug your socials and we will wrap up today's show.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to $0 for Bitcoin and we're going to $1 million of Bitcoin, there will definitely be a show on that day, Opti, and it'll be crazy either way. No, just my final words are stay humble, stack sats. If anyone has issues, I know we try and answer questions in the chat, but Opti and I are very responsive on Twitter, and I'm also on Nostr as well. So primal.net/Chris Alamo over on there, trying to use Nostr more, a decentralized open source protocol that you can zap sats over there. So it's a good time. Leave the centralized platforms behind, even though I know we spread our message, on all spots of the internet to try and to everyone. But I'm trying to use Nostr more this year in 2025. And thanks, Opti. It's always a pleasure being here with you, man. Hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, you as well, man. Chris, you always do. You always give me. You always make me look better, because I do the 45 IQ Bitcoin take. Chris does the 120 IQ Bitcoin take. It's a good balance here. It's just not Nico and I being 65 IQ Bitcoiners on the show. Wait, a cumulative 65 IQ on the show.
But hey, both advice is valid and both advice is winning. So, who knows? It doesn't matter.
Hey, it doesn't matter how you get to the truth, the stack sats, you're still winning. So I'll take it. All right, Chris, hang out behind the scenes.
Love you.
Oh, did you say bye?
No, I was saying love you, brother. Peace out.
Yeah, peace out, dude. All right, guys. Well, we did it another week. Last week of January, we made it to the end of the first month, guys. So we still got 11 more months to go. So smash the like button, comment on your thoughts on the show, and of course, smash the subscriber button. We will be back Monday, same time as usual. Theoretically, 12-16 p.m. every single day, but you already know we kind of pop in a little later. Anyways, we love you. Have a good weekend. Get outside, touch some grass, stack some sats, call your loved ones. And I'll see you on the flip side. Peace out.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.